all gone. Everything is gone.
I'm gonna try to get through this without crying. My name is Louise, and me and my family own a wheat farm in Kansas. We are all certainly lifelong Republicans, and we were so happy to vote for Trump in all 3 of his elections. However, we were certainly not aware that he was going to put a funding freeze on all USAID. 100% of our wheat produce is bought by USAID and shipped out of the country. So our farm is completely bankrupt. We have no customer. We had this whole deal with the US government, and now that is just gone in a second. And we are completely decimated. USAID buys about $2 billion worth of American farmers' goods annually, and every single one of those farms is in the same boat as us now. It's a sinking boat. He didn't consider us at all when he made these decisions, and it would be impossible for any world leader to do something that could negatively affect us more than what Trump has done to us. And we voted for him.
Greetings, family, and welcome back to my channel. So white farmers across the USA, they are starting to regret their vote for Donald Trump. For years, they placed their trust in his promises, voting for him not once, not twice, but 3 times. But today, many of these farmers are facing bankruptcy, crushed under the weight of policies that never worked in their favor. And the question in everyone's mind is, why did they keep voting for a man whose actions were destroying their own livelihoods? Let's take a deeper look.
Starting to say, I never thought that voting for Trump 3 times would result in me losing tens of thousands of dollars. A beekeeper out of North Carolina says, yeah, I proudly voted for Trump all 3 times. I flew flags for him and put signs for him in the yard. But now I'm out tens of thousands of dollars due to lost federal funding and tariffs, so I cannot export my products, my honey and my wax, to other countries like I could before, and nobody's buying it in the United States. Hay producers in Idaho and Utah that export alfalfa hay to China are now seeing 135% tariffs put on their product, and all of a sudden, they don't have anywhere to ship it. They held it all winter in hopes of sending it off to China in the spring, and now China's not willing to buy. Soybean producers are once again being hit harder than they were in the first Trump administration, and China, for its part, has diversified where it pulls these products from, with Brazil becoming the #1 soybean exporter and other countries picking up the slack for honey, for beeswax, and for hay around the world.
In the 2016, 2020, and 2024 elections, farmers across the United States overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump. Now, in 2016, that was not a good decision. In 2020, that was kind of dumb. In 2024, that was very stupid. Because at least in 2016, right, we didn't know what was going to happen, but we did know that he promised mass deportations and to build a wall, which of course would directly hurt farmers. In 2020, Trump had already had a trade war going for 2 years that cost farmers so much that it sent a record number of farmers into bankruptcy and caused the administration to have to send out billions of dollars in personal checks just to keep farms afloat. So in 2024, when Donald Trump was promising both mass deportations and more tariffs, you would think that farmers would have caught on by now, right? Hey, we got screwed the first time, we got screwed with the tariffs, we got screwed with the immigration thing. Maybe let's not vote for the guy who's promising to do all of that on steroids. But they did. And all of us across the country, of course, are paying the price for that. And these farmers are pissed off. Rightfully so. You have every right to be pissed off if you didn't vote for Trump. But these farmers that recently spoke to the media did in fact vote for Donald Trump, and now they're trying to say that we didn't know this was going to happen.
Farmers laying awake, crying at night because they're cash strapped. Look at this. Farmers and cattle ranchers are short 150,000 workers to pick crops. Fruit is rotting on the ground. No soybean deals with China, which is 60% of what they normally sell every year. Zero deals. Farm equipment. John Deere is losing millions of dollars due to tariffs. And farmers, if they have the money, are buying used equipment. Farmers who every single time vote for this administration, and every single time, this is an exact replica, but times 10 from his first term. Farmers crying at night, and many of them, I bet you, would say they'd vote for him again, getting exactly what you voted for. And guess what? Blackstone and JD Vance are ready to come in and swoop up your bankrupt farms. MAGA farmers, I have zero sympathy for you. Zero.
Okay, here's the deal. I have been MAGA. I have been full-on MAGA. I supported the tariffs. I was all behind. I was supportive of the immigration actions, all that stuff. Okay, but I have principles. I'm just. I don't think I can't do it anymore. I can't continue with the stuff that's breaking tonight. I can't. You got to have a line. You got to have some kind of humanity. You got to stand for the principles that our country was built on. Okay, so I think I'm done.
Seeing people regret voting for Trump is so annoying to me. I thought it was going to be kind of satisfying because it's like, I told you so, we all told you, but it's infuriating because we did tell you, we've been telling you, you had him for 4 years, you didn't realize that it was probably not a good decision. He told you exactly what he was going to do. Professionals said, hey, this isn't going to be good, this is going to negatively impact you. And y'all didn't listen, you still voted for him. We had so many celebrities, so many influencers out here saying, hey, vote for Trump, da-da-da-da. And now they're all backpedaling. And it's only because it's affecting you now? You didn't care that all these other minorities were being affected, but now that it's affecting you, now you care. Well, lucky for you, we're all just screwed now. So
Many Americans are not sympathizing with the farmers. Instead, people are saying, you reap what you sow, They were warned about Trump's policies, warned about the dangers to their farms, to their markets, and their futures, Yet they ignored those warnings and still chose loyalty to Trump over logic. And now the consequences are impossible to ignore. What's unfolding is more than just financial loss. It's political disillusionment, We are seeing farmers, some of Trump's most loyal supporters, abandoning MAGA altogether. For them, it's not just regret, it's the realization that they were sold empty promises while their livelihoods collapsed right before their eyes.
I didn't care how things were affecting others until it affected me. Am I proud of that? No. We live in a very cruel world, and sometimes the only way to survive is by being selfish. We are all just out here trying to survive as best we can. And although we may have good intentions and we may be empathetic and we may be compassionate, we will always put ourselves first because we have to survive. And if that means making a mistake in my vote or maybe putting my trust in the wrong person like I did, then that's what it means. I will always put the betterment of my family and vote in ways that I think will help my family above anyone else.
Here's the problem with voting for your self-interest. I understand Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When you're on the bottom and none of your needs are fulfilled, you can only think of yourself. But here's the problem with that, is you voted for your self-interest. So did everybody else in the Republican Party. Think about that for a minute. You voted for your self-interest, but you don't have anything. You don't have anything. Like that's what it is. But other people, rich people, They have a lot. So of course they're going to vote for their self-interest because they have something. You don't. You need the tribe, right? The socialized healthcare, the socialized dental care, schools, firefighters, police officers, all socialized systems. Is it clicking yet? You voted against the tribe. You know, humans didn't make it on their own. We always existed in a tribe, taking care of each other. You could only take care of yourself if you have something. And you don't have shit.
Oh yeah, here in North Dakota, we definitely are regretting our votes for Grandpa Tariff. Oh yeah, me and my husband run a seed farm up here, and Daddy runs a soybean farm. And the tariffs are hitting North Dakota harder than almost any other state. Yeah, we're really concerned about it. Last time Trump was president, we had to get a bailout, and we were hoping that this time it would be better. But I'm not seeing any signs that we're going to get spared this time around either. We had to pick up a couple pieces of steel in West Fargo yesterday, and we asked them if the tariffs had been affecting the prices yet, and they said just talking about the tariffs affects the price. You know, China will start going to Brazil and Africa for their soybeans, and then they'll establish relationships and we'll get completely cut out of the loop. Trump says it's short-term pain for long-term gain. So far in my life, I've never seen the tariffs do any gain for any of us farmers here in North Dakota. I'm not really even sure why we voted for him.
So recently, I ran into two of my friends, and they were both big Trump supporters. So I stopped and I said, hey, what do you think about everything that's going on with the cuts and no childhood cancer research and cuts to USAID? And so what do you think? How's it going? And they both said, well, you know, since the election, we decided not to follow politics that closely. Really? So you voted for Trump, but now you don't want to follow politics? And why is that? Well, you know, it was just too upsetting. Oh, really? You voted for Trump? Choke on that word. You voted for Trump, and now you don't want to take any responsibility? Fuck you.
Hey, I voted for Donald Trump, and really starting to regret my vote because this isn't what I voted for. I voted for a lot more people to go to jail. I voted for a lot more politicians to be stripped of their power and put in prison for the crimes that they've committed against humanity. I voted for the Epstein list to come out. The full list. The full fucking list of every politician, every bureaucrat that had anything to do with those minors.
You know, at the end of it all, this isn't just about bad policies. It's about race and power in America. Many of these farmers, they supported Trump, not because he helped them, but because he spoke to their fears about losing privilege in changing America, you know? Even with their farms failing, many would still vote for him again and again. Why? Because for them, protecting white dominance matters more than protecting their livelihoods. This shows a very painful truth, that some would rather go bankrupt than see a black president or support policies that uplift the minorities, you know? This is why the sympathy is so low, because people want them, but they still choose racism over reason, you know? They feared a black president being in office because of the fear of unknown. Many of them are aligned to white supremacists, you know? And we all know that they know the racism is their everyday bread. They don't like to see black success, black empowerment, black excellence, you know? They fear it so much. And I don't know why they fear black excellence. Barack Obama was president for 8 years. I don't think he did anything bad to the white people, you know? So it is just the fear of unknown. Because we are being sold the lie of losing their white privilege their white dominance in America. And most of them voted blindly out of this lie, you know? So that's why you see that the sympathy is very low. People are not sympathizing with them. People are not feeling any remorse because they knew what they were voting for. They knew what his policies were. You know? They are only getting what they voted for. It's not that they didn't know that Trump would deport immigrants who work in their farms. He would put tough tariffs that would affect their crops and businesses. They knew about all this, but they chose to ignore, you know? They were warned about this, but they chose racism over reason. And now the regret is setting in. But it is a regret born of economic collapse, not regret of a fueling division and hate. If this wouldn't have affected them, most of them would be comfortable, you know? If the policies only affected the minorities and black people, most of them will not be complaining. They'll be smiling and purring. You see? And this raises a bigger question. If given a chance, would they really change? Or would they still cling to Trump's or MAGA, even if it destroys them again? Well, I'll leave the question to you. And you can answer on the comment section, okay? Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.